anybody know how to say shapes in HoChunk? Does anybody know how to say diamond in HoChunk? Akipahi.
The mission of the HoChunk Renaissance program is to, the mission statement basically says to revitalize the HoChunk language. And the program itself has been in existence for probably going on about 13, 14 years. We can't go into Walmart and buy a HoChunk book like we can go in and buy a Spanish book. We have to make everything from scratch, so that takes us time to develop that, and consulting with our speakers and the correct wording and correct writing and things like that. So, but within the school systems, we're teaching kindergarten through second grade this year, and also high school. Here at the end of May, we're going to be launching our community classes, and it's an 8-week program that it's filled with immersion-based activities in the language, and also interactive, and some reading and writing that's going to be involved with that. So the grandchildren, the children are going to ask you one day the same thing, who am I, and so it's good that we learn all of that. So it's very important, there's a lot to it. So
I never spoke English. I never spoke English till I went to the first grade. So I learned it at home. We didn't live here, and those that were related to around here I didn't really know, because I lived in Wisconsin and I went to school there. We grew up out in the country. We were kind of, I don't know if you'd isolated, it wasn't farm country. I mean, there were no giant farms around or anything. It was, pine trees and, kind of scrub oak, and, it was not a country that people wanted. They didn't farm, or we had some old farmers close by, but they raised a few cows and chickens. They were old Russians. But mostly they were German, and the Germans had no trouble with our language, because they have the same sounds, So many of the Germans in that community spoke our language. You go uptown and you didn't have to speak English a lot of times. Then I got into this as a retirement job, because they asked me to come in they needed a speaker to teach, so I didn't know if I could try it, because today I asked them, you speak English, you want to teach English? It's a different deal then, completely different. The language you speak, you might necessarily not be able to teach, because you got to take it apart and look at the back, the grammar, why we say things the way we do. And
well, my parents knew the language, and my grandparents, I listened to them growing up, and so I know how to make the sounds, and I know words. That's when I started working here, like 14 years ago. I knew words, and I didn't know sentences or anything. So after working here this long, I can make sentences now. Going to boarding schools, and when the generation, my parents, that generation, when they went to, they were punished for speaking their language. I think my parents said it, and my grandparents, not my grandparents, my parents, that they didn't want us to know the language, because they didn't want us to be punished for speaking our language. And so they didn't teach us. They didn't teach us the language. A couple years ago, there was I had a class of about 8 or 11, something like that. And this one boy, all year, he never got it. And then, so it was the last day of school. And I wrote this sentence on the board. They all went around, and each of them read the sentence and told me what it meant and everything. And that last day, he was able to read that sentence without any help, and I was so happy. That's the good part,